Hey patrons, how's it going? It's your boy James here. It's your boy James. That's what I say at the beginning of everything. Today I'm gonna be doing a movie review for you because you're the $20 and up patrons. That means that you get to watch me talk about a movie that I picked, which is what I do at the $20 level. And this month I picked 10 Cloverfield Lane, a movie that I had never seen before and that everyone kept fucking telling me, hey, you gotta watch this, you gotta fucking watch this, and you gotta watch it, John Goodman's so good in it. And I watched it, and yeah, it was really fucking good, and yeah, John Goodman was great. There's no but there. I fucking love this movie. This was really good. I'm really glad to have finally seen it. I think it is masterfully done by director Dan Trachtenberg, produced by J.J. Abrams. It is not directed by J.J. Abrams. I think a lot of people, they do this on purpose too. They'll say a movie from J.J. Abrams. I don't think if he's a producer, they would say a movie by J.J. Abrams. It would be from J.J. Abrams. He's gifting it to us in the form of helping it get made, even though he's not directing it. But I think a lot of people who are maybe not as well steeped in the film industry, like someone who went to film school and fucking wasted a lot of money on that, they may not be aware that it's kind of like with Nightmare on Elm Street. I've talked about this before on Practical Folks. It's not directed by Tim Burton, even though it's Tim Burton's Nightmare on Elm Street. He produced it, and he worked a lot and had a lot of creative input, as I'm sure so did J.J. Abrams here. But yes, directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who I think probably deserves a lot of credit. And also, isn't he doing some other shit? Isn't he? Let's see. I think he's doing a show, right? The Boys. He's gonna be doing The Boys, or at least the first episode of The Boys, the Amazon series based on the graphic novel. I have a friend, Mike. You probably know Mike. He has seen parts of The Boy, and I think he really liked it. I know he talks about it a lot. I think in a positive way. But yes, Dan Trachtenberg did this movie, 10 Cloverfield Lane. This is a movie with pretty much fucking three characters. Just three people throughout the whole movie. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is definitely put in her time in the horror genre, all the way back to that Black Christmas remake, and many others around it. And then, she does other stuff like the Fargo season 3, which I still haven't watched. But she's a whole bunch of shit, obviously. Scott Pilgrim. She played Scott Pilgrim. No, that's not true. She played Ramona Flowers. But John Goodman, who I grew up watching on Roseanne. He is a man as familiar to me as my extended family. He is a welcome addition to anything that I'm watching, and I'm glad that he had such a powerful and good role in this movie. And I'm glad he got some awards. Not any of the big ones, obviously. This is a horror movie. It's not going to get fucking respected, but I think Fangoria gave him an award, and he was nominated for a Saturn, or he won one of those at least and was nominated for both. So that's good for me. John Gallagher Jr. is the third character, also another person who's put in he's in Hush, and he's in the Belko Experiment, and in all three of these movies, Hush, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and Belko Experiment, drastically different characters. Nice to see an actor with that kind of variety and range, because those three characters are nothing alike. Apparently, he's also like a Broadway actor, so he doesn't need me saying he's a talented guy. He probably fucking knows it if he's on Broadway. But he's great in this. Real nice to have around. Seems like a friendly guy. You do hear a voice in the very beginning when Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Michelle, who I shall call her from now on maybe, she is like, the beginning is there's an earthquake, which I think, does that have to do with the Cloverfield monster? Because this is a spiritual sequel. It does take place in the same universe, but you don't see the Cloverfield monster at all. Spoilers, by the way. If you haven't seen this movie, I'd turn this off and go watch it. Might be on Netflix. I forget how I watched it. I might have just rented it. I know I don't own the Blu-ray, but definitely watch this movie, because it's probably better to go into it without knowing anything about it. It's a very good, tense kind of movie where you don't know the motives of everyone, or you're unsure, and unpacking those and discovering those for yourself is a lot of fun. So I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it yet, just stop this review, go watch it, listen to the rest of this review after you're done with that. so then we can have a discussion about it. But yes. The beginning of the movie, there's like an earthquake, and I'm not sure if it has to do with the Cloverfield monster because, like I said, you don't see that monster, you don't see any of those characters, but it does take place in the same universe confirmed, along with that third one that just came out, Cloverfield Paradox. I have not seen, didn't get as well regarded as this or the predecessor, which, by the way, I fucking love that original Cloverfield. I haven't seen it probably since it came out, so I'm assuming I still love it. But when it came out, I saw it twice in theaters because I thought it was so fucking cool. Thought it was an excellent found footage film, and I was very impressed. And from what I remember, I think I would still like it. But yes, so this movie's not like that. It's also not found footage. It is a third-person standard movie perspective. But Michelle is driving away from New Orleans after an earthquake, and I think she just broke up with her boyfriend, but her boyfriend calls, and you hear his voice on her phone while she's driving. Didn't know this until the credits, that was Bradley Cooper, our boy Brad Coop, Stars Born Bradley Cooper, calling her on the phone. I thought that was kind of funny. Like, how'd that happen? Like, when was this made? Post-Hangover, that's for damn sure. And I think that was the start of... but he wasn't Oscar Bradley Cooper. He wasn't American Sniper Bradley Cooper at that point yet. But still kind of funny then. Just got him for a voice role. That's fun. But her car gets crashed into while she's driving, and then she wakes up in a bunker. And that's where we are for most of the rest of the movie. She wakes up shackled, and John Goodman walks in, and if you are a person of average size, John Goodman is a very intimidating fellow because probably 6'2", at least, maybe taller, and boy is he big. He has some mass to throw around. So if it's a fight or flight situation, you best fucking fly, dude, because I don't know how you're going to win a fight against big man John Goodman. He is intimidating. He is a very scary guy. And her first line, I believe she doesn't speak throughout that entire beginning. You just hear Brad Cooper's voice. But her first line is 10 minutes in when she says, "Please don't hurt me." And they have a conversation. He says that she's lucky that he was there to save her because outside is the end of the world. Like, there's fallout. There's fallout from some kind of unknown attack, chemical, biological, who knows. But she is safe in a bunker, and she says, "Let me out." She doesn't trust him. She says, "Let me out. People will be looking for me." And it's a great line as he goes to leave in that first scene. "I'm sorry, but no one is looking for you." And he does. His character is so good. Howard, he's obviously like, he seems very serious and very he believes what he's saying, that he saved her and that it's the end of the world out there. But also very early on, I think in the second scene together, he mentions Martians. He's like, yeah, there was an attack, maybe the Martians. And it's like, okay, so you immediately are like, oh, this guy is not fully there. And when we meet John Gallagher Jr. after she gets out of her room, after trying to attack him, I like that, I like that she's immediately capable and practical and tries to sharpen her crutch into a spear and attack him when he comes in. But like I said, can't fucking fight John Goodman with that kind of size differential between you. She tries to, though, and then she lights a fire and sticks it in the vent, and that's what brings him into the room for her to stab him. That's right. But yeah, he stops her, and then when she's able to come out of the room, she meets John Gallagher Jr., who is a guy who was not kidnapped by John Goodman, like she apparently was, but was a guy who helped build the bunker for him, I think, but is like a neighbor, and who, when he corroborates the story that there was a event of some sort outside, he saw a red flash, I think he says, and he begged to be let into the bunker. He wanted to be in there. And so the first part of this movie is definitely trying to figure out if John Goodman's full of shit or not. And the first piece of evidence he offers up to her to show her that the outside world is not safe is he shows her a window and is like, there are some dead pigs. See? They succumbed to the infection out there. And like her, we are also skeptical of that because we're like, well, he could have just fucking killed those pigs right there as something to point to as evidence of this. And so she's trying to get out of there. And it's this real good first part of this movie of her trying to get out there, because obviously you wouldn't believe this dude. He's talking about Martians and shit. And John Gallagher Jr. even says that Howard has a black belt in conspiracy theories. But that all culminates in a very tense dinner scene, and it's the first of a few excellent scenes where it's just it like the Dan Trachtenberg, the director, just lets that tension build, and it's like a long scene of them sitting there at dinner, and like she sees the keys on his person, and they're trying to have small talk or fake small talk, and John Gallagher Jr. is, he's more lighthearted and making conversation. And then you see John Goodman, you don't know if he's like jealous of John Gallagher Jr. when Michelle is like laughing at what he says, and then she notices that look and knows that she can use it. It's a lot of really good small character beats, and throughout all this, the whole scene just has all this tension building, and it's really great. I love the way it's done. John Goodman also has a great line of like, I know I seem like a sensible guy, because yeah, he's this guy who he doesn't have a sense of humor. He's a bunkerist, like an isolationist bunker conspiracy theory. Like, those people generally don't have the self-awareness to have a good sense of humor. So even if he is correct about the world outside, it's like you still feel this kind of danger with him, because he doesn't function right. Something's off. There's just some wire is crossed, and you know that like he could be dangerous. So that's why at first she tries to get out by stealing the keys from him at the dinner table, and like bashes his head open with a bottle, I think, and makes a run for it. And she almost gets out of there, but like right at the door, and this is a convenient moment, I'll give you that right when she gets to the door and is about to leave the bunker, a woman runs up to it. Or, well, it's not. She sees a car pull up, and she sees the headlights, and a woman gets out, and she's all bloody, and she's like, "It barely touched me. I'm okay, I promise." And then she just dies right in front of Michelle. And so that kind of is like, oh, I guess he's right about this attack. The air's not safe. And it's such a good moment. I will admit, knowing everything that happened, that this is just a little convenient that right before she opened the door to the outside, this woman came up. Minor nitpick, all right? Because we have to have a reason for Michelle to go back in and get to the fun and game segment, which is done to a montage of I Think We're Alone Now, which is a very fun part of them just adapting to this life, because no, I'm sorry, he is not reprising his role from the Big Lebowski. Howard says that they may have to be down there for a year or two while the air becomes healthy again. And so there's this fun montage of them like getting used to bunker life and playing games and watching tapes and doing puzzles and stuff like that. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a nice little Act 2A, if you're into screenwriting, just that part where characters are kind of settling into their new circumstances and trying to live with them. But they do hear helicopters outside, and they hear noises. And so it's like, what's the deal? What is going on out there? And it's an excellent mystery that's played up throughout the entire movie. That it does kind of take over the ending when she gets out of the bunker at the end. It is less interesting to me, everything that happens afterward to her, but I do commend the film for having that much of a turn and building. I don't think it necessarily needed to. No, fuck that. I won't criticize it at all. Personally, I found the bunker stuff and the tension between the characters the most interesting thing in this movie. But I have no complaints about after she gets out and the stuff that happens afterward. I think it's a cool turn that the movie takes, and it's a cool addition to this story. And it's the Cloverfield element to 10 Cloverfield Lane. So no complaints about it, even though personally I prefer the stuff in the bunker. But another great turn in the bunker takes place when there's like an air filtration problem, and she has to crawl through the vents because she's the only one small enough to do that, to get to where the generator is or whatever. And when she gets there and fixes it, she notices that on the window leading to the outside world are the words "help me" scratched in from the inside. So someone was inside and scratched them out. And she finds a pair of bloody earrings, I believe, which she recognizes as belonging to the girl in a picture that John Goodman shows her, where he says that this was his daughter Megan and that she left. But after she finds these bloody earrings and this scary thing scratched into the window, she consults with John Gallagher Jr., who is a local boy, like he said. And there's some good character stuff too earlier on between the two of them, where they talk about regrets and like how he purposefully skipped going out to college because it just like he wasn't sure if he could do it. And what was her regret? Something about a little girl in a store who was getting abused and she didn't do anything to stop it. And that contrasts nicely with, I think, an earlier scene with John Goodman where he says he has no regrets. Everything I wanted to do, I did. Which, sure, one could argue that that's a good way to live, no regrets, whatever. But it feels like a normal person would probably say, there are some things I could have done better in my life, which I have plenty of those, and I'm sure you do too. But not John Goodman, not him in this, not Howard. He is exactly where he planned to be, apparently, which is, again, like I said, alarming. But not as alarming as the bloody earrings that she finds, and then John Gallagher Jr., local boy, done good, reveals that the girl in the picture, purportedly John Goodman's daughter, was not his daughter. She was a local girl who went missing a few years ago, and John Goodman's wife and daughter left him and went to another state, I forget where, but turns out that, so they determine that John Goodman had kidnapped this girl, held her in his bunker, and killed her, I guess. So that is what I believe is the fact of the matter. That is what actually happened. And, maybe they could have been a little bit more clear with that, but I think it's fine. Looking back, because this is one of those movies where you have these little mysteries, like, because when she first wakes up, John Goodman says he found her in a car crash, but then she sees his truck outside and remembers seeing his truck crash into her car. So it's like, did he crash into me? Why? Why did he want me, and why did he abduct me to this bunker? He explains later, after the incident where she almost escapes, that he admits, yes, I accidentally drove you off the road in my haste to make it to my bunker. And again, I think that is the fact of the matter. So I think the facts are there was an attack, a red flash, something to do with the Cloverfield aliens or beings that we see at the end of this movie. That actually happened. He actually was in a rush to get to the bunker. He actually accidentally caused her to go off the road, feeling some kind of guilt or blame or something for that. He takes her out of the car and drives her back to the bunker and puts her in a room. That all happened. Meanwhile, he is also a man who a couple years prior had kidnapped a young girl and killed her in his bunker. Is that do I have that right? Is all that correct? If so, I guess saying it all out loud like that, it's a little weird maybe that he kidnapped a girl and killed her and then felt bad enough about running a car off the road that he rescued her. Or maybe it makes sense that he would once again kidnap a human being to put in his bunker, especially a young woman who he treats like a young girl, it must be said throughout this. He that's a running thing. He never treats her as a woman because they're playing that game where like someone describes something and the other person has to guess what the word is, and John Gallagher Jr. he's like, Michelle, and it's actually a pretty funny moment of John Goodman being like, girl, child, and like just Mary Elizabeth Winstead's face in reaction to it is very funny. And he can't guess woman, even though that's the correct word. He doesn't see her as a woman, which is interesting. I would love to think more on that and the implications there and just what that means. But I also do really appreciate the little bits of dark humor throughout here. There's a shot of John Goodman like dancing at the jukebox machine, and this is right after they discover the bloody earrings, so you already know that like something's fucked up with him. Just seeing him dance like that, it's great. He is so good. They're all so good, but John Goodman especially is just fucking so his character's just so scary and vulnerable at the same time. It's a little bit like in Split. Fuck, what's his name? The Split guy, James McAvoy. It's kind of like him. It's this character who you almost feel bad for on some levels because obviously there's something very wrong with him, but at the same time you're scared shitless of him because you know how dangerous he can be. And holy shit, when we get confirmation of how dangerous John Goodman is in a little bit, because after discovering the bloody earrings thing, they decide they have to get out of there. They're not safe to be there. So she, who has Mary Elizabeth Winstead Michelle, who has a background in making clothes, decides, hey, I can make a hazmat suit and a gas mask out of this like shower curtain. I can do this. It's like a plastic tarp. I got this. So she starts making it, and John Goodman finds evidence of them doing something. Not the actual hazmat suit, but like scissors, stuff like that. And he calls them over, and he talks to them over a barrel of acid that he threatens to put them in if they don't come forward about what the fuck they're doing. And holy shit, this scene is so tense. And John Gallagher Jr., he's like, it was all me. She had nothing to do with it. Listen, I just like wanted your gun. I wanted her to respect me the way she respects you. And it's like a good line, and it's a good lie. And he says, I'm sorry. And John Goodman says, I accept your apology. And then he fucking shoots him in the head. And holy fuck, when that happened, Chelsea and I were just like, what? It's so, like, he's dangerous the whole time, but when he actually, and you like, we've grown to like John Gallagher Jr. so much there. He's the least developed of the three, but he's a good guy, and maybe more importantly, he's there as this anchor for Michelle, because she's down there, and Howard is obviously insane, but Emmett, John Gallagher Jr.'s character, is a normal dude who's like sympathetic and smart and funny, and he's like this thing that's keeping her sane down there. And like the shock that is, because you don't actually see I think you see the gun and it firing, and then I think you see Mary Elizabeth Winstead reacting to it, and she's in shock. She just saw a guy get fucking shot in the face in front of her out of nowhere. It's insane. It's such a powerful moment in this movie that's just like, wow. All the tension building and the atmosphere and the psychological confusion over John Goodman's motives perfectly culminates in that fucking moment. I love it. It's so good. It's so scary. And after that, man, it just kind of fucking spirals out of control, because then he finds her gas mask or her hazmat suit, and so he gets mad at her, and she ends up tipping over the barrel of acid, and then he falls in it like face down first, and his face isn't fucked up, which at first I was like, wait a minute, but then I was like, oh yeah, his giant belly probably absorbed most of that. If you fall on your belly and you're John Goodman sized, your face is probably not reaching the ground. That's probably all going to the gut there. But yeah, so he's chasing her around all like melted and shit, and oh man, and she's crawling through the air ducts, and you get like classic horror stuff with him stabbing a knife through the air ducts, and it's scary. And eventually an electrical wire in the acid, fire, explosion, she gets out right as it explodes, and it's fucking great. It's so good and so scary. It's such good classic horror stuff when he's coming after her and like there's a fire and shit, but it's very riveting. She gets out there and she's wearing the gas mask, and then she sees like birds flying overhead and decides it's safe enough to take off the gas mask. So that begs the question, what about the lady who ran up to the door and died? Like, what the fuck's going on with that? Well, we figure it out, because she sees like, after the bunker explodes, the noise and the fire attracts, holy shit, it's an alien flying thing. It's an alien flying thing that releases a little other alien thing that runs through the cornfields. Aliens love the cornfields, and comes out and comes at the bunker. And this is the part where I'm like, I'm not as in love with this part, this alien being chasing her around. Like, Goodman's toast by this point, he's dead, but there's an alien chasing around Michelle. I forget exactly how she kills the alien. I do forget how that happened, but I know that she ends up getting inside the truck, and the hovering thing grabs the truck that she's in and is pulling her up, and she has to make a Molotov cocktail out of this, like, I think it's Glenlivet, this scotch that she grabbed in the beginning. I don't know if that's a high enough proof to be a Molotov cocktail, but whatever, it happens. It's movies. She lights on fire with perfect, again, it's movies. She has a perfect pitch at the perfect time to throw it into this alien being, this like biomechanical thing, I don't know, and it blows it up and she falls. But before she kills it, we do see it like emit a poison gas that she's able to avoid by like putting her gas mask back on in the nick of time. But apparently that was what the woman was referring to when she said, it barely touched my skin, I'm okay. So there is like, it's not the atmosphere as a whole that's infected, but rather a gas attack from the alien being. And after she's able to destroy that, she gets in that lady's car and is able to drive off. And, you know, it's a nice moment at the end where she's listening to the radio. I always love, with these post-apocalyptic movies or these like worldwide cataclysmic event movies, I always like to see, they always seem to be the best when they are a small focus on characters. Like The Mist, I think, is a perfect example of this. It's great because it's these characters dealing with it on a microscopic scale, I guess, in the grocery store. But it is most satisfying to me when the end of the movie includes the characters getting out and seeing the world as a whole. And that's why The Mist is so fucking good, because that scene when they leave the grocery store and it's just them driving around the mist and like seeing what this world is and seeing that giant lumbering beast walk by. It's incredible. It's so good. Of course, that movie has a very downer ending. This one is a lot more optimistic because she's hearing on the radio that there are attacks, that it's safe to go to Dallas, but New Orleans is under attack. So if anyone has experience in combat or anything, come to New Orleans. We need your help. And it's a nice little like fork in the road. She can choose to go to safety or choose to go help the city she came from, New Orleans, and she chooses to go help. She makes a left, and you see like some aliens in the background. This movie's great. I thought it was very fucking cool. I'm sad that there's no, like, I saw there was talk of a sequel. Mary Elizabeth Winstead said she'd be down. I don't think it'll ever happen, but also even if it did, there's no way that it could be this good. Because this is just one of those movies where it's like, this is just a one-time movie. You can't recapture this magic, and it's a little sad, but it's also great that we have this movie, that it exists. I watched this, it was built up, you know? People, I had heard over and over and over again that it was a really good movie, so it would be easy for me to watch this and be disappointed and let down by the quality that I had built it up to be in my head. Didn't let me down, man. But if you've seen it, let me know. I want to know what you think. Do you think it was maybe overrated? Was maybe a little too built up? Or do you agree with me that it was a very good movie with excellent performances, fantastic atmosphere and tension building, and just a lot of fun. A lot of mix of novel ideas and things we've seen before, but executed in a good way. What do you think? I would love to know your thoughts. Please leave comments on the Patreon post or on the YouTube video. No matter where you put them, I will see them. I promise you. It might be easier to have a discussion through Patreon, though, rather than people having to go back to the YouTube video. They can just check out the Patreon post, and there won't be a video playing and shit like that. But thank you so much for supporting me at such a high level. That's so awesome of you to do. You will also, at this level, get the shout out in the call to action at the end of a video. If you don't think you've gotten one of those, please let me know. I think I've gotten everyone up to a certain point, but maybe you hit up this pledge level like a long time ago and you still haven't heard your name. Let me know so I can look into that, tell you if there was a video you maybe missed where I said it, or maybe I missed it and I need to add you to that list and say your name immediately. But thank you so much for supporting Dead Meat and letting this fucking crazy thing that I call a job keep going. I couldn't do this without you. So I really appreciate it. And I hope these rewards make up for just the wonderful thing that you are. Oh my God. This mic's not plugged in. Holy shit. This mic's plugged in. And it was sitting on the table for both of these. There's nothing in this mic. I just recorded 2 reviews. I just record a whole nother half-hour review. Well, if you're reading or if you're watching this, I guess I determined that the sound quality was good enough to post. And if you're not, I reshot it. Thanks for being a patron. Be good people.